Unanimously. We're all here. This meeting actually has been called to give required fourth reading to a bylaw amendment related to our noise bylaw. There has been a challenge here in the city centre of Coquitlam with pile driving early morning on Saturday. That's been a complaint of a number of residents. Council wants to take action really quite quickly on this to make certain that for next Saturday, essentially that won't be happening anymore. So Council passed first three readings on last Saturday at a specially convened Council meeting. We have to give it a couple of days notice, a couple of days wait before fourth reading. That comes up today. And we didn't have a Council meeting scheduled, so we just waived notice of the Council meeting, and now I'm going to ask Councillor Asmundson. Councillor Asmundson and I actually both visited the site of the pile driving on Saturday, and he knows as well as anybody that it's so noisy there while they're driving piles that it's quite unreasonable for that kind of thing to be that early in the morning on a Saturday. So I look to Councillor Asmundson. Thank you, Mayor Stewart. And yes, we went by there, and we've had some complaints in regards to the pile driving in this area. So the motion I'm going to read is that prior to the final adoption, the proposed bylaw text, which was given first three readings, be amended to debate on SC1 in its entirely and be replaced by the text in the final version before Council now. So that is amended to delete section C1 and replace it with the section that's before us now. The section before us refers to the same thing. It restricts pile driving on Saturdays to between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. That motion was moved by Councillor Asmundson. Is there a seconder? Second. Second by Councillor Reamer. Any debate on that? Seeing none, all in favor of fourth reading? All opposed? The motion carries. Move adjournment. Councillor Asmundson moves adjournment, seconded by Councillor Nicholson. The special, all in favor? Opposed? Thus ends our special council meeting. And in a couple of moments, I'll be convening strategic priorities, administration and protective services standing committee meeting. Will allow staff in the meantime to work out the recordings. Thank you, Councillor Sikora. Are you going to go over for that? Daniela got them something. I haven't. just waiting for staff to work out some details with the recordings. There is a transition moment in the recording stuff. And they're ready. I'll call to order the Strategic Priorities Administration Protective Services Standing Committee meeting scheduled for tonight. I want to thank all of our audience who've come out to Council Chambers today to join us in this meeting. I'll move to Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. The first item are minutes of the Strategic Priorities Administration and Protective Services Standing Committee meeting held June 28, 2010, and the recommendation is that the committee approve those minutes.
Moved by Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor Reamer. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item 2 is report of General Manager Strategic Initiatives related to the major facilities construction progress update, and we have a presentation by our General Manager of Strategic Initiatives, Maurice Gravel.
Moved by Councillor Asmundson, second by Councillor Nicholson, that we thank you very much for coming and... No,
that was not my...
No, okay. There is actually an interest, and I'll open this. There is a motion seconded to receive your report. We'll allow you to make your report. There is an interest among council members to see if we cannot also have this report presented in a more public format in our council, and we may end up with a motion like that at the end of this meeting, but I will allow you to proceed, and we'll allow some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just part of our regular update to Council on two of our major projects that are underway here in the City of Coquitlam. The first is the Poirier Sports and Leisure Complex, and to date things are continuing to go very well. We're well under our budget of $57.9 million, and we're running about 10 months ahead of schedule. So what that means is construction will end approximately the end of September. And we'll be having a grand opening of this facility sometime in October. We'll be working closely with Parks, Recreation and Culture Department to organize that official opening and really celebrate with our community this beautiful new facility. So what you see before you here is what it's going to look like in about a couple months when it's all done in the front entrance here. Let me get this going here.
Me to do it? Just nod to me when you want me to do it.
So the first picture here is showing the new, what we refer to as the old arena, which is under major renovations over the last number of months. And this shows the styrofoam insulation that goes down over the sand bedding prior to putting down the coils for the refrigeration unit under the ice. These are the little holders that hold up the, I don't know how many meters we have, but a number of meters for the cooling coils that go, that are embedded in the concrete for the ice plant to create the ice for the facility. This picture was taken in around the middle of March. This was a looney toss and a toonie toss, and we invited council to come out, and this was after all the rebar was in place, and that just prior to the pour of the main slab. And council had an opportunity to throw a looney and get it embedded into put their initials on it and put their looney in the concrete at center ice. So this is a picture of the renewed arena and interior completion looking from one of the corners. Here's a picture from the end zone. The new renewed arena is much brighter than the old facility. We have some great color schemes in the facility, as well as you'll notice that the seats, we have broken up the colors, the gray colors of the seats here, and that's done for a couple of reasons. To break up the gray color or a constant blue color, whatever you have. And secondly, it makes, when you have smaller audiences or spectators, it actually makes the facility look a little bit more fuller. So we've had positive comments on that regard from the user groups to date. So very, very bright facility, and very, very positive comments from the user groups so far that have been using it. This is the Sports Hall of Fame under construction, just erecting the steel and the walls that will form part of the front entrance to the new facility. And the roof structure going up over the Sports Hall of Fame and the new entrance. and the roof nearing completion. And as we speak, we're already fitting out the inside of the facility in terms of the front entrance and the Sports Hall of Fame. So that part of the work is progressing very well. This is the old annex. One last look at it. This was taken about a day before it was demolished. And so we made sure we had a picture of it just before we sent in the bulldozer and the wreckers to take it down. Now, standing in the new renovated arena in the northeast corner, you're looking out the windows that there, and what you're seeing directly behind the windows is the old annex. And that was taken before the old annex came down. Here's a picture with the annex down, and now you can actually see the background, the mountains of Coquitlam in the background. So it's definitely opened up the viewscape from the side of the facility. And here's a picture taken at the concourse looking around. You can see it's quite a wide area. This is where we pushed the arena out on the east end and created the full bowl. So you've got a 360-degree track to walk around, and again, much wider at this end and very bright and very welcoming. Next, we'll move on to the Town Center Fire Hall. Town Center Fire Hall initiated construction in early January. We lost a little bit of time at the beginning of the job. We're running about 3 weeks behind, but we're making that time up, and the project is moving along nicely. We have a very tight budget for the fire hall, but we're watching the contingency allowance very, very closely, and right now we expect to come on very close to budget on this project, and we expect to have substantial completion by the end of November, and have occupancy for our fire chief and his staff sometime in December. So we're right on target where we wanted to be complete by the end of the year. So here's a picture of the basement walls being formed. And you get another view of the amount of staging that goes up to pour the forming work that's required to form these walls. And showing the main floor, and you can see the rebar coming up through the slab for the second floor starting at this point in time. Again, another shot of the forming of the rebar. So now we backfilled the basement and have the main floor columns poured and the rebar extending up to the second level of the new fire hall addition. Here's a picture of the second floor forming up, getting it ready to pour. Second floor, the suspended slab just after we poured the concrete for that, and the trick is to try and find a day that when you're pouring these slabs outside that it's not raining too hard, so you get a good finish on that. So you kind of have to pick those critical dates to make sure your quality of your work is high. And here's a better picture of the roof forming here. This was taken probably about 3 weeks ago. So we see the first floor, the second floor, and just forming for the roof portion. Here's a picture that just gives you an indication of how much rebar that goes into these for the suspended slab for the roof here prior to the pour of the concrete. And here's a picture. This was taken just at the end of June, just after we poured the roof slab for the new addition of the fire hall. So that concludes my presentation, Mr. Mayor. Both projects are moving along extremely well, and we're confident that both of them will be completed on time, and be pleased to answer if council has any questions on the presentation tonight or the report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Reamer.
Thank you. Where the annex will be parking, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And so that's really what is expected to take the relief away from the surrounding neighborhood.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. There'll be quite a number of parking spaces going where the annex previously was.
Right. And
we would expect to have most of those parking spots in place by early September.
Okay, and there'll be a turnaround, is that correct? Will there be in there for buses to pull into to drop players off?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, thank you.
And the other thing there'll be is you'll be able to go 360 degrees move if you wanted to around the building. So if a bus came in, right, it could continue on and go through right around and back in Poirier and back out Poirier. So in that regard, when that work is finished, that will hopefully resolve some of the issues we've been experiencing in the shorter term during construction. But again, being in construction, we have limited parking, and we're hoping that with the parking being completed, that situation will hopefully improve considerably.
Thank you. Councillor Lynch.
I was just noticing that the project for the town centre fire station expansion is behind, and I was wondering if that's causing any difficulties for the fire department at all, and if it says substantial completion by November, is that still the target, or?
Substantial completion is still on target for the end of November, with occupancy in December. So yes, we're still on target in that regard. We've been making progress as the weather has improved over the last couple months. Anytime you're working in a project where you're constructing in an operational facility, you're always dealing with these type of dealing with operational concerns, and people in Tony's department have been very, very patient with us and to try and work with us and around us, so that we're able to get our work done but not inconvenience them too much. I think so far it's been fairly good. Did you want to make a comment on that, Tony? Or
we have run into a few obstacles, but working with facilities, we're able to overcome all those, mostly just operational inconveniences, if nothing else. I think we had a small fire and a small flood and a couple other minor things, but they're all to be expected. So we've been working very well with facilities and getting it completed and working around any obstacles that do come up.
Thanks.
Small fire and small flood, and they're all to be expected. Okay. You're comfortable with that? Good, good. Well, I know that the parking situation at Poirier, for years and years, the massive parking lot, the parking lot that provided about 85% of the parking, had one in and one out. And now having the complete access to the full circle of the building for the first time, I think, in the history of the building, or at least since the annex was built, and 3 entrances onto Poirier, it makes, I think it'll make a whole lot of difference to the way in which that site can transition, and may well relieve a lot of the pressure that residents behind the building over on Laurentian and the side streets near there are feeling. I thank you very much. Oops, Councillor Reamer again.
Oh, just a quick question. The opening is projected to be in October. Have we got a specific date yet?
I was just talking to Ms. McKay just before earlier today, and they have a couple dates and that I know that they're thinking of, and her plan is to finalize that fairly soon and to let council know.
Okay, thank
but
you.
But I don't have an actual date for you tonight.
Are we talking late October, mid-October, early October?
I would expect it'll probably be closer to mid-October.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chief Delmonico.
Your Worship, we're anticipating potentially a December 15th opening of the Town Centre Fire Hall administration, so I don't know if that works for council or not, but that's the date we've tentatively selected, but again, we have to check with council's schedule.
Thank you. We look forward to both. Any other comments, questions? The motion is to receive. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Are there any further motions related to this presentation? Councillor Robinson.
This is really a lot of good news, and I think we ought to be sharing it beyond just this committee. So I'm hoping that we could receive this in a council format so that other folks, when we have a council meeting, can hear about how we've actually saved money, things are being built on time, on budget, even under budget. And I think it's important to point out that the rink stayed open. That has impressed me immensely, that from a construction perspective, that you've been able to keep people using the facility while we've constructed it. I find that absolutely amazing. So my motion is to hear it again in a council format.
Your Worship, would be happy to give this presentation again.
Well, we've got a motion on the floor. Is there a seconder? Okay, second. Are there any discussion about the motion? I would suspect that we're not doing it just because it's good news, but also because I think a lot of residents are curious about what's going on at the fire hall, curious about how the progress of this is. I know there's been keen interest, not just from the sporting community, about the sports centre and the work that's been done so far, which has been enthusiastically received, but there's a keen interest from the community at large as to what's going on in that building. And I know that a lot of people have had really good things to say about the feeling in the new we'll call it the new arena, because even though it's a renovated arena, there's been a few people ask me, no, really, you renovated this? They thought it had actually been torn down and replaced because it looks brand new. It's a completely new look, and I think that in that light, I'd love to see have the public see this in their homes as well on television. So the motion is to invite Mr. Gravel to come back and do this all over again at a city council meeting. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
If it's okay with council, we probably should do that first council meeting in September, which will be a precursor to the opening. Does that work for you? Fine.
Well, it may well then be an updated report, and I suspect the motion will allow you to update the report.
Yes.
Good. Motion to moved by Councillor Asmunsen, second by Councillor McDonnell to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
I spoke to a vibration.